Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan's is RHOLM22. Raiders lose, get eliminated from the playoffs as they lose to the Colts. So we'll talk about that. Talk about we have some questions that you guys have, and then we maybe talk a little bit about the college football playoff. That was fun time of 9 hours of football last night. I'm sure it drove some moms across the world crazy. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing good. It is the beautiful shores. Nice day out here in Southern Cal for January.
And as far as the international listeners and watchers, so we got folks listening and watching in Bahamas, Jamaica, England, and Scotland. So I want to give you guys props for that. And then also Happy New Year, Merry New Year, if you will, for the folks who love trading places like I do. We'll roll with Jody's first. Jody from 61619. We did Mark Davis make a mistake? Getting rid of Josh McDaniels that early in the season. Now you have a situation where you're in an interim basis. You're almost on your way to getting in a position where you could have gotten one of these young quarterbacks without giving up assets. And now, was that worth getting AP if AP becomes the head coach? Like, basically what what they're saying here. I mean, he kind of got rid of. I don't like interim situations, and I think he got rid of JMD very early in the season, where an interim coach like AP can come in and make a really big mark with this team.
Was not expecting the did they fire Josh McDaniels too early question. I'm going to say no, because they had 3 wins under Josh McDaniels. They were probably still going to win 2, 3, 4 more games with him. Like, this team wasn't going to not win another game the rest of the season if he stayed on as head coach. They still probably beat the Giants. They still probably beat the Jets. They still probably beat whatever it was the Chargers rolled out there on Thursday night. So assuming they would have won 3 of the final 9 games if Josh McDaniels stayed on, you're still looking at 6 wins. You're still probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 in the draft. And right now they're going to end up somewhere between 8 and 14. So no, I don't think that firing Josh McDaniels is going to cost them one of those top 2 or 3 quarterbacks, because they were never going to be in the position to pick in the top 4.
They got to trade. So so basically they got to trade. And you want to do what you got to do in free agency, and you got to say F those picks and get the guy you want. I mean, that's just basically that's how it is. Like, we're not accustomed to doing that here in Raiderville. But this is a year where you got to do it. There's a lot of quality arms coming out on college football. Did OC from Oakland wants to know, did Penix change any minds last night? You can go first on that one if you want to go. Okay.
I would say, for the people that haven't watched Washington this year very much, I would say probably. But as you and I know, as Pac-12 fans, watching a lot of USC and West Coast games. He's kind of been that way for 2 years. Now, I will say this. He was awesome last night against Texas. Yes. But let's see what happens when they face that Michigan front, because his big issue has always been, how does he handle pressure and what does he do on the move? And he really didn't have to do a lot of that last night. He was getting a lot of one-on-one coverage. And let's not forget, this guy has like 3 top 2-round wide receivers on this roster that are going to win a lot of contested balls. He has a hell of an arm. He showed yesterday a little bit more mobility than he's shown all year.
Yes, 100%.
But I think the thing that people aren't really talking about enough is the medical. And having been in draft rooms before, that is a huge, huge issue. And if the medical doctors aren't going to sign off, it doesn't matter. They're not going to take him, especially not in the first round. So Every team is going to have a different medical grade on him. The combine is going to be a big deal with him. The age is also an issue. He's been in college for 6 years now. He hasn't finished 4 of those seasons. Now, having said that, he has finished the last 2. And hopefully he's past some of these injuries. But you're talking about multiple ACL injuries and injuries to both shoulders. When you start stacking prospects up on the board and they're close, if there's a medical question on a player, he's not going to jump the other players, which we don't have medical issues that we know of. There might be, but that we know of on May, Williams, and Daniels to the extent that you have on Penix. So is he going to slide in as quarterback 2, 3, or 4? Right now, I'm probably going to say 4. Having said that, I know a lot of people get excited because they can say, well, Raiders can stay put at 10 or 11. He'll follow them and get them. But there's teams behind them are going to come. There's 13, 14 teams in this league that are going to try to upgrade their quarterback position this offseason. So even if they like Penix and he's quarterback 3 or 4 and they think they can sit there, if you identify a guy you want this year, you have to move up and get him. They're not going to fall to you.
No question about it. I, as somebody who just watched a boatload of film on him and did a show on him the other day, he definitely moved around way better in that game than he did all the tape I watched. So I give him a lot of credit for that part of it. I want to, I mean, like people with a left-handed thrower too, like, you know, that rush comes from the left side. Can he, running to his right, turn and still make a good throw? Like people are going to, you know, try to force him to do things that he really doesn't want to do. You talked about the pressure, interior pressure, or just pressure to make a move up and around the pocket. You know, those long developing plays down the field, like that's, you know, you can do those plays in the NFL, but like that can't be like every single. It can't be as much as
what going to be your offense.
It's not going to be your offense. It's not going to be like what you know Washington runs, or you try that play. You try those plays playing against the Ravens, playing against the Steelers, playing against the Raiders. They're going to sack your quarterback. So I would say he did turn some heads. I think the one thing that people don't understand about the Pac-12 that's going away now is that the conference got quarterbacks. And when you see them play against conferences that don't have quarterbacks, it shows up big time. Like if it wasn't for a muff punt in that Texas game, like that game is one going away. And also some Kellen DeVore like little mix-ups here that we'll talk about maybe later as far as that goes. Let's see here. We got Brad wants to know if you get a young quarterback, do you think it's imperative that we sign Josh Jacobs, or do you ride with Zamir and get another veteran?
My question is, what is Josh Jacobs' market right now? The market's not what it was going into the season. So
no.
Before the season, we were talking about 3 years, 33, 36 million, somewhere in the 11 to 12 AAV, with probably 2 years guaranteed, somewhere in the 22 to $24 million range. I don't think that he's worth that at this point. This is going to be another season he hasn't finished. He's going to miss the final 4 games of the season. So if his market is more in the $8 million a year range, then I would absolutely bring him back. If he still thinks, because he got $12 million this year, if he thinks he's getting $12 million next year, he can get it from someone else. Yep. Or you can get him on a deal where you can get out of it in a year if you need to. I think Zamir White's shown enough to where you could get another back like a Blake Corum that we saw last night and pair them together and do what 90% of the teams in the league do anyways, is run with 2 guys and mix that up. Mm-hmm. So this is really going to be on Josh. I think the Raiders want to have him back, but they want him back at the right number. They're not going to bring him back and give him $12 or $13 million a year, because I think you take that money and you put it in the offensive line, especially if you go get a quarterback like Penix, where you're going to have to protect him and give him time to work the ball down the field. So if it's $8 million a year, I'd say yes. If he wants in, like I said, the $11-12 million a year range on a multi-year deal with multiple years guaranteed, let him go find it somewhere else. I'm a huge Josh Jacobs fan. I love Josh Jacobs, but I don't think that you can pay him that kind of money with what we've seen out of Zamir White and going and adding another back to that backfield.
And I do think with what Zamir White has shown is he's shown a lot of giddy up. Like I didn't realize he had that kind of burst. I didn't realize he had the hands out of the backfield. Now he's catching the ball out of the backfield. Like that could be a really good 1-2 punch with Josh Jacobs and Zamir White with a young quarterback, with the offensive pass catchers you have. If you improve that offensive line, tell Andre James to go do something else. Things like that. Like those things will be kind of cool to see if the Raiders could do something like that. Currently, as we speak right now, the Raiders have the 11th pick in the draft. So, like I said, I mean, like we said, if they want that guy, and I gotta say, if I maybe they have maybe it all implodes and they have maybe 1 or 2 less wins, but they probably end the season with maybe 1 or 2 less. I mean, they're probably going to have 8 wins this year because they'll probably beat the Broncos. They probably end up with like maybe 6 or 7 if Josh McDaniels stayed the whole year. So it would make a little bit of difference, but a couple slots. But like for the most part, they were never going to get into that spot where they just needed to go to be where Washington is, be where New England is. So that's where the Raiders ride right now.